Hello, hello. This is Jessica Gerlach, certified personal trainer and author of the book You Don't Make Friends with Salad. And you're listening to the 5 Foot Strong podcast, the show that we will do a deep dive into our personal strengths, discover what makes you strong, and talk about our physical and mental health journeys. Whether you are 5 feet tall like myself or 5'11", we are all 5 foot strong in our own unique and beautiful ways. So please take a big deep breath in, get comfortable, and let's do this. Hello, hello, and welcome back to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I am your host, Jessica Gerlach, and on today's podcast, I have a very knowledgeable guest in the health and wellness industry. With over 10 years of diverse experience, Laura Kestenberg is a passionate and innovative healthcare professional who strives to make a positive impact in the industry. Laura is the director at LMK Health Consultant. She also works as a clinical operations and professional development consultant at Athletes Care Sports Medicine Centers, where she supports the growth and development of over 300 clinicians and operations managers across 25 locations in Southern Ontario. On top of all that, Laura is also the RMT Service Operations Consultant at Athletes Care, where she applies her knowledge and expertise in massage therapy to improve the quality and efficiency of the services provided. It is my pleasure to welcome my good friend, Laura Kestenberg, to the 5 Foot Strong podcast. Hey, Laura, how are you?
Hey, Jess, I'm good. How are you? Nice introduction.
You know what? You deserve it all. I want to pick your brain a little bit on this podcast. And you are a healthcare professional, so I want to get your professional opinion on it. So I want to start off by asking the question I'm going to ask every single guest on this podcast is, what does the adjective of being strong actually mean to you?
I feel like, being strong, it's a fully loaded question because I think being strong can mean a lot of things to different people. I think people can be physically strong. I think people can be mentally strong. Maybe I'd use the word holistic, all encompassing. I think it's really important for human beings to be well-rounded. A lot of the work that I do with my own patients or a lot of the coaching and mentorship I provide to clinicians is really talking about the entire holistic human being that you're working with and working within the biopsychosocial model of care and not just isolating the physical body of strength, but also the social and psychological implications to a human being as well. What are the strength of your social networks? What's the strength of your own psyche, your own mental health? What's the strength of the actual human body that's in front of you?
That makes sense. 100%. Listen, I always say being strong can be physically strong and it could be mentally strong. And today I want to really focus on the physical aspects of being strong and taking care of your body. That is a definite part of a whole balanced lifestyle, of a balanced, healthy lifestyle. So taking care of your physical health should be, for my opinion, should be for longevity and for quality of life. Do you agree with this?
Totally. I think it's so important from day one. I used to work with kids with an organization called Sport Ball, and it was teaching kids how to just move their bodies and their gross motor skills from, I believe it was like 18 months years old, and working with patients, until their 90s. It's so important that a human being's moving and taking care of their body for the length of their life.
I always say that no matter if you're, a kid or in your 80s, that you need to move your body. Our bodies are not made to sit all day. And, a lot of people have sit at work and at a chair all day at an office job. Can you give any suggestions to those kinds of people who really need to just start moving their bodies a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, again, I see it with myself sometimes. I transition from, standing up 6 days a week, working 8 hours a day to, sitting on my butt in a chair for 50
Most people
hours
do,
a
yeah.
week. And, one of the things I've started to do myself is just making sure I'm prioritizing some type of movement in the morning before I start my day, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's doing a yoga class, whether it's going for a walk. That's really, really made an impact in the way that I feel mentally, but in the way that I also feel physically after I'm sitting throughout the day. I think it's also really important to carve time in your day to just do something physical around lunchtime, whether you're just simply standing up, doing a stretch from your desk, again, going for a walk, carving out time to go to the gym. I think it's so important that we're not just getting stuck kind of in like the minutia of our work, but really making sure that we're taking care of ourselves throughout the day.
Well, for sure, balance is part of that healthy lifestyle is, movement, then eating well and prioritizing your mental health. And how do you personally prioritize your mental and physical health?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I feel like, it goes up and down. I've really tried to put some type of routine into my day. I find personally working from home, it's difficult to separate your personal life from your work life because your computer, your phone can travel with you. So I've tried to create some more of a morning routine for myself. So, for example, when I wake up, I try and prioritize going to the gym in the morning. Part of that is doing a little bit of a yoga practice as well. I try and do some journaling in the morning. I try to get about a 15 to 20-minute meditation in. Something that I'm trying to not do is look at my phone right when I wake up.
Big thing
So
for
those
sure.
are a couple things that I find have really helped me, especially, in the winter when it's gloomy and cold.
And when me and you reconnected later on in life by our passion for fitness and taking care of ourselves, we both were a little heavier as kids and we both prioritized our health and fitness. And would you, when it comes to weight loss specifically, um, we talk about longevity for your physical body, but there's so many other aspects, there ailments that can come to your body by being overweight.
Mhm.
Can you talk on that?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of joke sometimes that actually grateful that I was a little bit heavier as a kid because it kind of gave me the better habits now. I started, I think, working out when I was like 12 years old and being a lot more conscious about, what I was eating. And I think, like every body is beautiful. I think any size is beautiful. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to the actual health of that body and what's going on inside. Forget about the outside.
Right.
But I think, as we age and we're in our early 30s, I start to feel fatigue sometimes. I notice that my muscles ache a little bit more. I don't have the same amount of energy that I did. So even more important now to really kind of proof and prime our bodies for the later years of our life and make sure that we're maintaining the integrity with our musculoskeletal system, but again, more importantly, like our mental health. I think this is the prime age where adulting sets in, and oh my gosh, we're buying homes and we're getting married, and maybe people are getting divorced and there's financial issues. We have to make sure that our minds are healthy so we can withstand that stress that life brings us.
Well, I agree that a healthy mind leads a healthy body. And I think people need to prioritize their health and well-being, um, especially as you age. But, I'm happy I figured it out in my 20s. Some people don't figure it out till much later on in their lives when they're trying to, um, after an injury happens, or they're not as much preventative, which
Mhm.
I believe that you should be taking care of your body as a preventative uh, circumstance as well.
Yeah, totally. And I totally live in that camp too. I think, we have a healthcare system, unfortunately, that tends to be a little bit more retroactive or reactive to symptoms that have already come up in people, and they're like, oh shoot, well, and now I have to resolve this. And I really, even in the way that I work with patients, and the way that I coach some of our clinicians, I think it's important that we have this mindset of like, how can we bulletproof our body? How can we future proof our body? How can we create good habits now so we can prevent the, response that we have to take reactively to something that comes up later in life? We're seeing more and more people live longer, which is fantastic. But what's the true quality of their life? What's their longevity? What's their viability? What do we need to do now in order to preserve that longevity and viability? And I think it's so important for people to understand, and fitness and health professionals like you or myself, that we're really encouraging the general population to start to take care of their bodies now, because it takes much longer later on.
Well, and that goes back to, taking care of your physical health for longevity and quality of life. Because when you get to your 80s, what is the quality of life?
Mm-hmm.
And you really want to experience all that you can. And yes, we are living longer, as you mentioned, but what kind of quality are you living? And with fitness and with taking care of your physical health and your mental health, that quality of life definitely improves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I always think about my grandmother who just recently passed away at 98 and a half years old. And, a Holocaust survivor, went through the war, tremendous amount of stress that we'll never understand, that she experienced in her life. And I would always say to her, I'm like, oh my God, like she was with it too, like no
Yeah, I
mental
remember. Yeah.
decline, like she was literally with it. And I always said to her, I was like, Grandma, like, how are you like this? And she's like, I don't stress about anything. I walk every day. She read every single day, but she moved. She moved literally. She would go on walks until she was 98 years old. In COVID, she's going on walks in the depths of the cold. Like, she just moved her body.
And that's what I want to make it simple. Like I don't want to overwhelm people as a fitness professional. It really breaks down to just moving your body. As a
Mhm.
98-year-old woman, all you have to do is walk, you
Mhm.
know, because that you don't even realize the benefits of movement for your body, for longevity. And again, that's what we try to work for. I don't suggest as a fitness professional, you know me, I believe in working slow, uh, doing healthy steps of improvement to improve your quality of life. I am not a believer in quick fixes, and that's not who I am. And for somebody at 98 to just keep it simple, just move your body. And
Mhm.
as a healthcare professional, I'm sure like you want to make it as simple as people because people get overwhelmed with the idea of fitness and exercise. And when a doctor says, oh, maybe you should work out more, people are like, well, what do I do? It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be so complicated.
Totally. And I think there's, like a lot of intimidation. I think there's a lot of insecurity. I think there's a lot of shame that people feel like, oh my gosh, like, how did I let myself get to this point? How did I live so much of my life not moving? And like I think it's really important as healthcare professionals that we really like tune into our empathy and understand how that person may be feeling. Maybe you and I, have built these good habits early on in life and we're good, but it's actually our role as healthcare providers to actually step into the shoes of those who have not had this experience and allow them to feel comfortable and safe and vulnerable enough to actually take that first step. And sometimes I see like
And that
whatever
takes
these
strength.
influence. Sorry, go on.
That takes a lot of strength. And that goes back to what being strong is making
Hmm.
that first step,
Hmm.
believing in yourself, giving yourself that confidence to make that first step, whatever it may be.
Hmm. Totally. And what I was gonna say is you kind of see like on Instagram, you have all these whatever like fitness professionals and influencers, and they're doing all, these crazy things. And sometimes I think to myself, like, well, that seems a little bit intimidating, right? Like if you want someone to work with you, they may not feel comfortable, not you, the general person, they may not feel comfortable working with someone who's kind of boasting all of these like complex movements that they've been able to do and acquire over time and flexing all their muscles over time. It's like they may not feel like they're even good enough to work with that trainer. I think it's so important for health professionals who genuinely want to work with someone for the rest of their lives to get on their level. And it doesn't mean it's a lower level, it just means it's a different level, so they feel comfortable to become whoever they want to be, but they shouldn't be want that you shouldn't want them to become who you are, for example.
100%. And again, we go back to striving for longevity. It's not just about looking good today. And most of these influencers aren't, don't have the certifications, fitness professionals or whatever. And they're showing things that really could hurt people in the end. And a lot of people try them and hurt themselves. So it's about taking slow steps to improving your fitness and not just, jumping into the deep end and saying, oh, I think I can do this because I see somebody on social media doing it.
Totally. And I think, when it comes down, I'm not like a nutrition professional or anything, but I think when it comes down to, and like I've been someone who has maybe said, I don't understand how someone could, get to that weight, or why are they eating that? And, I have to remind myself, like, there's a lot of complex factors that lead to different habits and lifestyle habits and eating habits. And I think there's a lot of, people who, including myself, who eat in a particular way for emotions, or who's looking for that dopamine hit. I mean, when I first, moved out of Toronto, I was like eating tubs of ice cream, no joke, weekly. And I was like, this is so not like me, but it was such an emotional crutch of like sugar, 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 sugar. Or like I cut coffee out last summer, but I was eating so much sugar. So there's so many chemical and emotional things that happen in our bodies that kind of lead us to these addictive eating habits, or just these maladaptive lifestyle habits that we have. And it takes time to undo those, but it also takes a good, patient, knowledgeable care professional to support that person throughout their journey without judgment or without this quick fix, because it just takes time.
100%. So, a segment we do on the 5 Foot Strong podcast is a healthy tip of the week. Do you suggest anything to get somebody started to live their best life, to be their strongest self?
Oh my gosh, good question. I started to drink a large mason jar. You can't see this, but a large mason jar. It's like 20 ounces of water in the morning with a splash of cranberry juice, non from concentrate, with a half of lime and a little bit of salt. And I find that those electrolytes and the hydration right in the morning really just helps me, because I had cut coffee out. So if anyone's trying to cut coffee out, just hydrate yourself with water, and then you don't feel like shit.
I think that's a very helpful tip. And I think, using water instead of sodas and uh, drinks that are full of sugar also to achieve true hydration and to clean your body out is the right move. Do you have anything else you'd like to share on the 5 Foot Strong podcast?
No, this was fun. It was great. It was nice to chat about these things with another healthcare professional.
Well, I'd like to finish off by thanking our guest, Laura Kestenberg, for sharing her knowledge with us about prioritizing our physical health. By prioritizing your physical health, you really invest in the longevity and quality of your life. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming on the 5 Foot Strong podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jess.
Before we finish off this week's episode, I want to do the hot or not trend of the week segment. Since we are focusing on prioritizing our physical health today, the hot or not trend we're going to talk about this week, and I'm going to share my opinion on, is this new fascination with cold plunging. I get asked about it quite often, and if I've tried it before, and yes, I've gone on to freezing cold bodies of water for a brief period of time to stimulate muscle recovery since I do lift and I do work out quite often. But I actually find it quite funny because, yes, cold plunging has gained a serious popularity all of a sudden because of social media. But the idea of cold therapy and putting your body in extremely freezing cold bodies of water for a brief period of time for the purpose of muscle recovery has been around for years and years in the fitness and sports industry. Professional athletes, fighters, hockey players, and other high level athletes have been using ice baths for years and years for body recovery after intense bouts of exercise. It helps reduce inflammation, as I said before, and speed up the recovery. There are lots of proven benefits of cold plunging, including reducing the body inflammation, reducing muscle soreness, and even stimulating the body's alertness. If you take a cold plunge or an ice bath after a hard workout, it helps the body recover faster. It also stimulates the central nervous system and has been even proven to boost your metabolism. Recently, with this cold plunge trend because of social media, more studies have been done, and it also has been proven to even have mental health benefits, such as increased dopamine production. It even could reduce anxiety and depression. And as I said before, it is known to add increased body alertness to the body. If you think you can handle it and you want to give it a try, go for it. Why not? Test your body. It's all about controlling your breathing and testing how far you can handle it. If you want to receive the benefits of a cold plunge, try it. And especially if you're an active person, it can definitely help with your muscle recovery. Now, do I think you need to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a specific cold plunge bath? No. Fill up your bathtub with freezing cold water, add some ice, and go for it. There are definite benefits for the average person, and it could be another addition to your toolbox for body and muscle recovery. If you have constant body aches or pains, it could also be a great tool for you. And that is my opinion. I think if you want to give it a try, why not? Can't really hurt. Control your breathing. It's a good way to test your body's how far you can go. So yeah, that's my opinion on the hot or not trend of the week, cold plunging. If you want to go jump in a cold pool of water, go for it. See how long you last. It's all about pushing your limits, and that's what I do believe. I would like to finish this week's episode by thanking again our guest, Laura Kestenberg, for sharing her knowledge with us about prioritizing our physical health. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you have any fitness or lifestyle questions, please email the number 5footstrong@gmail.com, and hopefully we can address some of these in the future episodes. Remember, whether you are 5 feet tall like myself or 5'11", we are all 5 foot strong. See you next week.
1, 2,